Hello, tribe. Welcome. Welcome to this full moon message, lunar eclipse, time in our life, a time of great change and great shift. And I wanted to leave a few words simply because it is it's such a pivotal time in our lives, right? In the lives of humanity, in the lives of civilization, in our own personal life. Um, the full moon will be today at 10:34 p.m. on the eastern coastline. You must adjust for your own location. And the full moon is a time of actual maximum illumination, right? So what's been hidden is revealed at the full moon. It is said that the full moon is also the end of the story, the end of the issue, the end of the ruminating in our own minds, right, about what's going on. And this full moon is packed with a punch because almost immediately within an hour's time of the new moon, we will have the solar eclipse called maximum. And that is happening at 10:44 on the eastern coastline. Quite interestingly, I want to share that the moon will be full at 10:35 and that we have an incredible formation of lines of communication between both transpersonal planets and personal planets, which makes this, it's the subconscious transpersonal planets and what we consciously work with, which are the personal planets. And so the alignment is such that it's offering a great opportunity to shift perspective, to shift our inner life, our inner being, which is actually the window through which we see the world. And it would be a missed opportunity if we did not seize the moment to tap within to that silent level of being that knows, right? Not what the thinking mind is telling us, but to tap into the intelligence which forms the backdrop to the thinking mind. And that requires silence, that requires that we're quiet, right? And it can be through prayer, it can be through meditation, it can be through just contemplating and reflecting on the beat of our heart, the breath, inhale, exhale, very quietly, and just sit with yourself. So that today is a very powerful time for what is called sadhana, which is sitting at the feet of your divine presence. And I wanted to go over some of the alignments that are taking place simply because they're so powerful. And it's such a great gift to have this opportunity for self-reflection and self-contemplation that if I didn't share it with you, I feel like I would be cheating those who may stumble upon this message and resonate with it. And as a result of that resonance, decide to take the time to be, and being requires quiet. And so at the fullness of time, which is taking place this evening, again at 10:35, we awaken to our own consciousness, like we awaken to the thought patterns that are now manifested as a result of this full moon. And you can consider that moon to be a mirror. And actually, the mirror is often a symbol that is used for the self-reflecting quality that the lunar value represents. And so the way that this shows up is it shows up in our life as what is. And so the mirror, your life becomes a mirror for the inner reality that you're experiencing. And so we want to take the time to appreciate that. And what I mean by appreciating is by knowing it, exploring that. What is showing up for you at this time? And to tap into the knowledge and the revelation that provides you about yourself. the mirror, reminds me of, I'm talking to the man in the mirror by Michael Jackson. I'm not a singer, but that is actually the type of self-reflection that we're all called to at the full moon, particularly a full moon that is eclipsing the emotional body, and how that emotional body, the subconscious, informs the thinking mind on a daily basis. They say that, the conscious mind is maybe 95%. We use maybe 5% of our conscious thinking capacity, and that the other 5%, that the other 95%, I think I got those numbers mixed up. We use 5%, and 95% of it remains hidden in the subconscious. And today is that time when the subconscious comes up for review. You have a better opportunity to awaken to your consciousness by looking directly into your own eyes, which is the inner conversation, that inner, that inner voice, that is sometimes not in alignment with what the things that we want to bring into our life, right? And that's because our emotions are often hidden from our perception, and we're behaving in ways that don't serve us based on the emotions of shame, hurt, anger, right? And sometimes joy can also be part of that experience, but we would have to be able to tap into and resolve the issues, the wounds, the inner troubles that we have experienced that have left some samskara, right? Some scar in our emotional body, and that brings up thoughts and triggers when we're out in activity. All falsehoods are hidden. Right now, what we see is the reality of what has become as a result of the work that we have done during the lunar cycle. And this lunar cycle will bring us back to the beginning of the awakening to our creative power, right? Which is born at the new moon in Aries, right? At the beginning in spring. And so now this is the fulfillment. This is the harvest time. This is, and the harvest moon taking place in Virgo, which is symbolized by a sheath of wheat. And that is the harvest. And so now we are separating the chaff from the wheat. What doesn't serve us, we're letting go of that, or we will have let go of that by the time of the full moon, so that we can enjoy the harvest. So that the harvest, when, in Egyptian mythology, this time of the year is symbolized by the weighing of the heart. And the weighing of the heart, the balance of that heart based on that Aries Libra axis, which is that spring, and we'll be moving into the Libra sign after this full moon. And just on the 22nd, so it's just a few days away. And so this is harvest season. And so what are you harvesting during this time is super important. Also, this is a time to seek consummation in your reflection. When you reflect on the seeds that you have planted, the new moon in Aries, the new moon that followed that, in Taurus, and then in Gemini, and then Cancer, and then Leo, right at the height of the summer. What were you doing? What were there any obsessions? That you betray your own leadership ability and your own sovereignty during that time? That is an incredibly potent time of the year. And now begins the descent of the sun back to its lowest trajectory in the ecliptic, where we will meet with the winter solstice and the rebirth of the sun after Christmas, silent night. And here we are. We're at that 3 month. We're at that quarter place in the zodiac where you're reaping what you sow. And there's nothing else to add at this point. The moon will go full. That's it. That's the end. And then over the course of the 3 days that follow that fullness of time, that full illumination, begins the phase that is called the disseminating phase. And that disseminating phase is as if, to use an analogy, is as if the fullness of time is the cresting of the wave of the ocean of consciousness, right? So that ocean of consciousness is now full. It's the full moon, and the wave is a high, high wave. And then after the full moon, that fullness of time begins is descent. And we can see that because on the face of the moon, because there will be lesser and lesser illumination that will take place as the dial that is the moon begins to shed the petals of the fullness. This is the full bloom time, right? So I've had several analogies there. I've compared this to the fullness of time, the fullness of consciousness, the ocean of consciousness, and we can bring that to the metaphor of the blooming of a rose, right? Or the blooming of the lotus. And so here we have the fullness, and now the moon begins to shed her petals, and we can see that because the moon begins to lose some light. And so there's nothing else to add after 10:35 this evening. The moon is practically full at this time. Actually, both the sun and the moon are at 25 degrees, and the exactitude of that alignment happens this evening. We're in it right now. As I speak, that alignment is taking place. Very powerful time to be alive. I want to highlight that for those of you who have Capricorn rising on your chart, if you were playing Monopoly, you have a get out of jail free card at this moment. Use it wisely. And the jail that you have built for yourself, Pluto takes no prisoners, and Pluto is back in Capricorn to reclaim its sovereignty. And Pluto represents the aspect of consciousness that creates the problems, right? Those, your thinking, your triggers. Pluto is a loner. It's a time for retreat at this time. It's a time for the deep faith of knowing who you are at the core of your being and taking a stand in that place and claiming your authorship in your life. It is that, if you don't have Capricorn rising, that is the keynote of this Plutonian directive at this time, wherever Pluto is placed in your chart. So cast your chart, find an app or a program that can give you your chart and look for Pluto. Where is Pluto? The Plutonian directive is an archetype, just like every planet is an archetype. This is evolution. This is about your own evolution. Astrology is always evolutionary, always. You can study this and study that evolutionary astrologer, but if you're looking at your natal chart, we're talking about the signature, the astrological signature of the evolutionary pathway that you can take, because it'll clue you in as to the strengths and opportunities or challenges that were present as a result of your own evolutionary journey in your chart for you to work with in this lifetime. The signature of your natal chart is what you have, the significations that you're working with in this life. So if you have a planet in strength, lean into that. And how do you learn these things? You learn these things by studying your chart, speaking with an astrologer, and knowing your transits on a monthly basis. This is a powerful tool for self-transformation. And so Pluto which is a part of you, is that part of you that seeks empowerment, and how you express that based on the information that you have accumulated in your lifetime until this time. And you have the capacity to untie the scars, to untie the knots in consciousness that have resulted as part of your experience of being human. And so there are hurts and there are joys and there's sadness and there's anger and there's, emotions that become lively as the moon transits your chart on a monthly basis and you have experiences in the world. This time marks the end of the force of wealth of spirit, wealth of health, wealth of material resources. Pluto means wealth. And there's an opportunity for the redistribution of that wealth in your life. It requires you claiming it. And we claim it by honoring the changes that need to happen. And you know what they are. Nobody can tell you what changes you need to make in your life. You may run from them. You may not want to face them because some of them are tied to stories that we have, samskaras, the stories that we buy into, about being a victim and being a martyr and being a savior and, oh, I love them so much. But you're not practicing self-care. How can you love anybody if you're not loving yourself? And it's the wealth of opportunity that you have at this time to reclaim that, because Pluto is retrograde, and Pluto is retrograde. It's not a coincidence that Pluto will be direct on at the beginning of November 4th. And right now, retrograde, before it moves forward and steps into Aquarius. Aquarius, the sign of the avant-garde, innovative genius within you. And the creative spark of joy and of bliss and of accomplishment and success. It's wealth, right? So you have to redefine what wealth means to you. And in order to do that, you can't be listening to the chatter of other people. Pluto there's a quality of this archetype that is of going it alone within. And that requires profound self-discipline, commitment, and self-honesty, so that you can come face to face with the man or woman in the mirror and reclaim your power from the stories that you've been telling yourself of the things that you allow to get in the way of your own wealth, and wealth meaning success in the grandest scale possible. Pluto has been transiting the sign of Capricorn, the goat, the greatest of all time, builder, architect, farmer, you name it. Capricorn directive is about learning from every fall. It's the mountain goat, and the mountain goat will climb steep peaks to achieve that vision that you can only have when you're up above the plains, right, of life, a new perspective, that bird's eye view. Pluto is giving you an opportunity at this time to take hold of that vision. Really, really just like take that snapshot, like what's going on inside, what's going on in my heart. What is it that I can no longer tolerate? And what has to go? There's no prisoners. It's like that. This is it. Pluto will go direct in November. This is a good time for you to consider and get clear about what you're bringing forward when Pluto goes into Aquarius. We are in the Aquarian age. I'll talk more about that in another video. And the reason why this is so important is because there's an eclipse. The eclipse is going to bring the matter to your doorstep. And you can either sweep it out of the way, cry if you have to, whatever it takes. Be, like I said, profound emotional honesty with yourself at this time. And what are you willing, what can you decide to bring with you? Pluto's trajectory in Aquarius is a 20-year journey. What are you bringing on that journey? Right now, you have an opportunity to clean house. All the houses, because Pluto is the furthest planet in our solar system. And so it supersedes in power. The slowest planet, it is the slowest planet. It takes 248 years for that archetypal force of nature within you to make a full circle around the zodiac. You will never have this opportunity again. It is that important, right? So I'm a Capricorn rising. I know a star is being born in my life right now. Are you claiming that stardom for yourself? You gotta, reach for the stars or die trying. And let me tell you, that is exactly how I have spoken to myself at this moment in my life. What are you telling yourself you can no longer tolerate so that you can reach for the highest star? You take no prisoners. It's all about you. Okay, I am going to move away now from that Plutonian directive that is having me sit in front of this, in front of Zoom right now to deliver this message. I want to highlight there are other opportunities here as well that can support that evolutionary opportunity that is you're being presented with. In our lifetime, it'll take another 240 years for Pluto to visit Capricorn again. It's not going to happen again while we're in this physical expression now on Earth. If you would believe in reincarnation, you will be a different being in that incarnation 250, 200 and almost 50 years, 248 years from now. At the time of this is serious. At the time of this full moon, we have an ascendant, Taurus ascending the Earth. Powerful. The Earth is the creative spirit within all of us. You are the Earth. That's what makes us all brothers and sisters on this planet. We're all the Earth. The Earth itself is an organism that, a beautiful organism that is alive, right? How are you treating that in your life? Uranus is there. Uranus is giving you the evolutionary potential to claim your creativity, to innovate in your life, to wipe the slate clean so that you can create something new. It is avant-garde, it is of science. How are you integrating new technologies for the purpose of evolution? Not to Snapchat, not to be in Discord with other people, not to, where is your creative spirit? What can you create at this time? If you're online and you're not learning something new, you're not using that tool as a resource for your own self-development. And that is key. Technology is to innovate, and you want to innovate your life. And how can you use these new ways of being in the world, not to be scrolling and who's doing what and what you said hurt my feelings. If you're at that level, you are missing an incredible opportunity in your life to restructure. That is what the Earth does. The Earth will restructure itself. We see, plate tectonics, lifting, shifting, rubbing, and creating something new where there was nothing before. We see volcanoes erupting and creating islands. We see thunder and lightning, and there's electricity that becomes available in the air that's more that is chaotic, which allows us to use that energy to create something new. Where do we create? We create in our mind. All is mind, is hermetic wisdom. So What are you creating? What new thoughts can you give birth to? Because the birth, the conception, the conceiving also happens intellectually. It happens emotionally. It happens in our experience. You know, how are you being creative with life? And that can be through journaling, it can be through drawing, it can be through playing music, it can any creative outlet medium that you can find right now that you're called to sing, hum, whatever it is. This is the time to engage at that level. Creativity requires for you to be creative with life, which means you're doing it in a new way. Uranus is rising at the time of the moon in an earth sign. This is harvest season. Taurus is an earth sign. Harvest season, where the full moon is, where the sun is in Virgo, also an earth sign. So Virgo is about purification. Purification of what? Of all our bodies. And how many bodies are there? 7. There's 7. There's 7. We have the root. We have the intuition. We have our throat, how we speak creation into creation, right? How we intuit the wisdom of the moment. The heart has a greater magnetic field than does the brain. The heart is thinking too and attracting. The solar plexus, how you are churning that ocean of consciousness, how you're churning the mind. The sun, where are you casting those rays of light in your life? Are you casting them towards memories, that things that hurt you? Whatever you put your attention on grows in your life, said my teacher Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. I take those words to heart. I don't allow my mind to just cast monsters in my life. You can't. Then there's the sacral, your creative energy, your creative center. You know, how are you nurturing that? Nurturing that. How are you spending time with that stirring within that allows for the art? Life is art. Art is an economic engine. The more creative you are, the more you're reclaiming your power from the elements. And then there's the root chakra. How grounded are you? This is a great opportunity to ground and integrate, for goodness sake. We have Uranus, electricity in the earth, chaos, from which you can create, Virgo, the purity of your spirit by cleansing your diet, cleansing your spirit, cleansing your emotional body, by grounding yourself in a spiritual essence that speaks to a higher power in your life. That's Pisces, and that's where the moon is. Also highlighted in this chart is Neptune. And Neptune, so beautiful. Many people say, oh, it's about escapism. It can be that. You make that decision. Remember, these are evolutionary archetypal figures. We're giving birth to new archetypes at this time in our life. Neptune, I couldn't remember the word. Neptune's vehicle is the trident. The trident, as you may know, is like the fork with the 3 extensions. One represents the body, the other the mind, and the other your actions. When all 3 are aligned, you're cooking with a lot of juice there, because that means that there's an inner alignment in your mind, body, and spirit. And this triune essence is expressed in all traditions of knowledge on earth. We have, you know, I'm not going to get into the different religions, but they all have an expression of the triune aspect of the divine, right? And some people call the divine God and like that. So how are you harnessing that incredible power that's available to you? We have Saturn in Pisces. What does that mean? Saturn, the taskmaster, tough love, but also it's for the purpose of getting you to build a lasting structure in your life. It's in water. How do you build in water? You build in water by strengthening your emotional body. Water is symbolic in the astrology of the element of water. Right? There's some detachment there that's available to you so that you can surf this ocean of collective consciousness, which is what Pisces represents, with some buoyancy. And you can claim that now. This is not a type. Neptune is a force to contend with, because Neptune could easily cast a spell, the nymphs of the ocean that sang to sailors and distracted them. That's a Neptunian power. And so the essence itself, the creative spirit, is Shakti, is female. And the silence at the depth of being, that's Shiva. That's pure power. Silent level of consciousness, of awareness. So what you want to do, I'm looking at the lamp instead of looking at the lens. What can I tell you? Oh, it's such a moment, right? So very powerful. The nodes are there. That brings up the shadow. And so it's a force to contend with at this time. The shadow is that which you do not accept about yourself. And so you blame other people. Oh, they did this to me, so you're a victim, which is that directive of not claiming self-responsibility. And that's not going to be tolerated, because the moon is sandwiched between Neptune and Saturn. So you have an opportunity here. How are you going to claim your power? Pluto, inner power, the power within. How are you going to claim that power? How are you going to build on you in this ocean of consciousness, which is not easy to give shape to water? In order to give shape to water, you need a container. You are the container of the emotional body. How are you shaping that? How many holes are in the container, in your auric field? What are you allowing? What you allow is what will continue, right? So what actions can you take? What boundaries can you set? While having compassion and empathy, right? We don't want to hurt anybody, but the buck stops here. And so that's the opportunity that we're all being presented with. Venus is in Libra. Very beautiful to have Venus in Libra. Venus is about that commitment, that contract. And right now it's about the self, because there's an alignment between, with the South Node being there as well. Although it is not a tight alignment, it is an alignment nonetheless. The sun is in Virgo, self-care. I'm telling you, it's all about you. Anybody tells you any different, they're not telling you the truth. It's all about you right now. Where are the distractions? Right now, it's in your face, how you're giving your power away. It's up to you. Nobody can do the work for you. There's a song that says that. No one else can do it for you. Anyway, Yeah, nobody else can do this work for you. So this is where the dirt meets the road, so to speak, literally, literally and physically. There's a trine between the three transpersonal planets. This is generational. And meaning that because they take so long, these planets, to go around the ecliptic and go through the different signs, right now, people born in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, each, right now we have Pluto going into Aquarius for 20 years. I spoke about this in the last video, so I won't give too much attention to that here. But those who were born in the 80s are finding their relationships are in a stir, right? Those of us born in the 90s are finding new philosophies with which to approach life, are feeling adventurous, are feeling a greater sense of optimism. Those who were born in generation X and Y, those who were born in the 60s and 70s, these folks have given birth to all the yoga studios at the beginning of the influx of the Eastern philosophies taking root in business here in the United States. We had many people who were in their 50s, 40s, and 50s activated by the alignments that are taking place at this time, since the 90s and the beginning of the previous 10 decade. So many people were called to, become yoga teachers and meditation teachers, and to study the Eastern arts of Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, and became herbalists, and a bunch of schools opened up across the entire United States. It is the highest ranking business in the United States today, with over $3 trillion. It has opened up the door for coaching. So so this is a trine of these generational aspects, of innovation with Uranus, innovation, science, technology, all of that gave birth to AI most recently, with those born in the 90s who sought to have a different expression with the technology. And I imagine that as Uranus moves through the sign of Gemini, it's going to give birth of mind, birth conceptualizing in the mind, conceiving in the mind, new ways to use this technology moving forward. And let me tell you, the new talent that is developing at this time is technologically savvy. Very beautiful work that they're doing. And so technology can be used for both good and evil. It's just like everything else. When you live in the world of duality and you see things in terms of good and bad, then we assign those values. But if we can just look at things in terms of the Aquarian age, of what can help society and how can we move humanity forward, and how can we best care for the earth after this incredible trajectory that Uranus has had through the sign of Taurus, you will be supported, because what is evolutionary is supported. Whatever is antagonistic to evolution will not survive. And so look at your life. What is antagonistic to the evolution of your spiritual being in essence that needs to be let go of? Okay. Okay, I think I'm going to end it here. It's been such an incredible delight to leave this message for all of you. It's the resonant vibration at this moment. The shadow will come to life. Consider what is showing up for you. Don't hide. You can hide from yourself. You can easily, people who are, I give you a lot of credit. I give all of us a lot of credit. We have lived through an immense transformation that was given birth to since the 2020 events that happened. That's when Pluto and Saturn came together, and there was a lockdown on Earth that allowed for a reorganization of the power within. And this opportunity is now going to bring to this, that it's an open portal. There's an open gate right now through which we are all being asked to walk through and, you know, let go or be dragged. And it's a time to seize the courage. Mars is in Cancer, which is speaking of desire to a spiritual warriorship with regards to home. You know, home, however you conceive the home of your heart, the home of your mind, the home of your country, the home, you know, in all its iterations, you know, how are you reclaiming that spiritual power within all the places that you can call home, including your heart and your throat? And remember, I went through 07. So how are you using this energy within? How are you aligning with that trident, that triune essence of the divine within you to bring that forward, so that when you get anchored in that, in that path, right? As you anchor yourself through your creativity, through the passion that you feel for the things that you want to accomplish, what is your highest vision? That's it. Okay, not a time for escapism, not a time for, you know, calling your best friend and having a you know, a chatting session about all the things that went wrong. Whatever you think, that's what you're giving life to. Whatever you speak, that's what you're giving life to. Wherever your actions are, wherever you put your resources, that's where your heart is. And that's why it's so important to become self-aware. In order to become self-aware, we have to go back within to the silent level of functioning of our own intelligence, so that it can inform our way forward. We all have a guardian angel. It is always there. These practices are there so that you can listen to that inner voice that is guarding and guiding you through this amazing experience we call life. Much love, and take care of yourselves and each other. If you like, please subscribe and share so that other people who need to find this message will find it, right? But we want to support. And this is the greatest support that you can offer me, because I think that this is important. And I hope that you do too. It's all about you. Okay. Hola, bye. Take good care of yourselves and each other. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.